This is Joe from Manhattan Review. Today we continue our explainer series on Manhattan Review's 6-step system to mastering sentence correction questions on the GMAT. As a quick reminder, these are the 6 steps of the full Manhattan Review method towards approaching GMAT sentence correction questions. In this video, we break down steps 3 and 4, identify decision points, and eliminate incorrect answers in sentence correction questions. If you want to see the overview of the method first or learn about the previous steps in detail, please find the links in the description below. A decision point is an issue that leads to differences among the answer choices. Actually, I personally prefer the term decision node, but my colleagues here at Manhattan Review convinced me that decision point would be better understood by most students, so we will use the term decision point. In any case, the differences in the answer choices indicate grammatical questions you have to answer. For example, in the problem we have been working on in this video series, one decision point is whether we will use the verb does or do. Whichever decision we ultimately make, we will be able to eliminate either 2 or 3 answer choices. There is no specific order in which you must address decision points. You are completely free to choose any issue you can identify in the sentence and use it as decision point. However, your choices will impact the number of iterations you need before reaching your goal, which is coming to a unique answer. Also, some grammatical issues are quicker to resolve than others, which mean that starting with those simpler ones could save you time, as you might reach an answer already before the need arises to evaluate a complicated matter. Therefore, after our teachers have amassed 2 decades of experience through solving thousands and thousands of GMAT sentence correction questions, the Manhattan Review team has created a 3-tier priority guide to help you with some direction when you identify decision points. The guide will help you to identify the grammatical issues which tend to be easy to spot and which quickly lead to a straightforward decision without much internal deliberation. So, while knowing this 3-tier priority guide will provide you with directions for the order in which you look for grammatical problems and identify decision points, please remember it is simply a guide. To pick the order of decision point is as much an art as it is a science. While it is often most efficient to follow the order we provide, you need to remain flexible. Do not pass up opportunities which present themselves simply because they're normally considered a low priority. You may encounter something that is simple to solve in a specific case at hand. Also, you must consider the efficiency in selecting decision points. The best decision point from this perspective will result in the answers being relatively evenly split. So ideally, the very first decision point you pick for a sentence correction question should eliminate either 2 or 3 answer choices. This will assure that you reduce the number of active answers significantly, no matter which grammatical choice turns out to be correct. Also, please remember that above all else, the sentence must be logical. The focus on problem solving and logic is even more important than a focus on obscure grammatical knowledge. With these disclaimers in mind, we generally recommend to our students that they should start by looking for any issues with subject-verb agreement. In our experience, these are easy to spot and decide on once the sentence has been pre-processed. The other grammar issues which are in Tier 1 have been decided based on the frequency of their occurrence and simplicity in deciding what is correct. They include pronouns, modifiers, and sentence structure. Tier 2 contains parallelism, tense, idioms, and comparisons. These issues either come up less frequently or are not as simple to resolve. Finally, Tier 3 contains other issues that arise and may need to be dealt with. Remember, above all else, logic needs to be considered when choosing an answer. Most logical issues will be resolved when grammar mistakes in Tiers 1 and 2 are addressed. That being said, it is possible that the sentence is grammatically correct, but it does not follow the original meaning of the sentence. This issue would need to be resolved when it is time to eliminate answers. GMAT tends to prefer concise answer choices. However, many test takers prematurely eliminate answers because of their length. Concision should only be considered when other grammatical issues have been resolved. This is also true for the use of passive voice. Often GMAT prefers an answer which uses the active voice. While this is considered better composition, it is not grammatically incorrect to write in the passive voice. Therefore, it should be considered only at the end of the process. It is worth noting that because of the need to remain flexible when applying this approach, you must train this for some time to attain mastery of the method. The old saying, practice, 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 remains true in this case. Only practice will get you to the point where you can apply this method confidently and quickly. We discuss an example now right away, but please also remember that there are several example videos where we apply the method to other GMAT sentence correction questions. Links are in the description below. Also, I want to point out that working with the Manhattan Review tutor can help speed up the process, as an expert outside observer can help to note specific areas where improvement is needed and provide the necessary coaching. If you want to know more about this option, please also find a link to get in touch with our friendly academic program advisors in the description below. In the last video in this series, we went through the second step of the Manhattan Review approach, which is pre-processing. Pre-processing transforms a GMAT sentence into a simplified version of itself. We started with the sentence, the West Nile and Zika viruses, like nearly all mosquito-borne disease, does not occur in mosquito larvae, but rather are transmitted by female mosquitoes, which become carriers by biting infected humans. Now we have the pre-processed version. The West Nile and Zika viruses does not occur in mosquito larvae, but rather are transmitted by female mosquitoes. Using this simplified sentence, we look at the answer choices for decision points. First, we look for subject-verb disagreement. As mentioned before, the simplified sentence often exposes a subject-verb disagreement. And this is the case in this problem. Our first decision point is whether to use the verb does or do. After having removed extra information, it is clear that the subject is viruses, which is plural. Therefore, we need to use the verb do, not does. Consequently, we can eliminate answer choices A and D. Now we need to search for other decision points among the remaining answer options. In this case, there are two decision points left. The first deals with the sentence structure, specifically whether or not to use are before transmitted. The second difference deals with pronoun usage in a modifying phrase, deciding whether to eliminate which. We want to be strategic with our time. As you can see, for our first decision point, no two answers are exactly the same. Making a choice between three different answers is often time-consuming and cumbersome. On the other hand, for our second decision point, two of the three remaining answers are the same. This gives us the opportunity to eliminate multiple answer choices using a single decision point, while evaluating only 2 grammatical alternatives. Therefore, we will evaluate the second decision point first. If we remove the pronoun which, we no longer have a phrase modifying female mosquitoes. Instead, the word and links the modifying phrase beginning with the verb become back to our original subject. Essentially, the end of the sentence changes meaning to the West Nile and Zika viruses become carriers after biting infected humans. Here we can see that this is illogical. The viruses do not become carrier of viruses, and they certainly do not bite humans. Therefore, B cannot be the answer. Now we have one more decision point to address. Transmitted is a verb which refers back to our subject, viruses. However, the viruses do not actively transmitting something else. They do not crawl around to do anything of that kind. They are passively being transmitted. We know it must be passive because of the word by following transmitted. So we must use the verb are in conjunction with transmitted to keep the meaning of the sentence the same. Again, we are using both grammar rules and basic logic to deduce the answer. By isolating and considering one decision point at a time, we have eliminated 4 incorrect answers now relatively quickly and have reduced this problem to one single answer choice. This makes step 6 redundant in this case, as we do not have to evaluate more than one answer choice. We now believe that E is the answer. We will take the original sentence, plug the answer in to check that it makes sense. Our new sentence reads, the West Nile and Zika viruses, like nearly all mosquito-borne disease, do not occur in mosquito larvae, but rather are transmitted by female mosquitoes, which become carriers after biting infected humans. This sentence works grammatically and logically, so we can confidently say that E is the answer. So today we broke down how to identify decision point and approach them when working on GMAT sentence correction questions. Using our priority checklist, logic, and a systematic approach, you will find that with practice you can accurately complete sentence correction questions in under 90 seconds or less. This has been Joe with Manhattan Review. Until next time, happy GMAT studies!